Thank you very much for agreeing to have this interview with us. So I believe that you visited some of the classes as well and visited many places in our school. Yes. So what are some of the impressions that you formed of Crescent Girls' School in your visit here?
Yes. Well, I'm very happy to see that the girls are very engaged in their learning. I mean, you have very lively discussions in the classrooms and also lots of laughter, which is very good, that you're enjoying the learning and enjoying each other's company. Yeah.
Was there anything that you found particularly striking about the lessons or like the topics the students are discussing?
Yeah. Well, I find the interactive sessions and discussions amongst students to be striking. I think it is useful for students to learn how to communicate with each other, to learn how to share ideas and to think rigorously about these ideas.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting.
Yes.
So I've seen that you've got quite a diverse experience here in Crescent, right?
Yes.
During your time here. So how would you say that this experience here in Crescent right now was different compared to your experience when you were in school?
Well, certainly when I was in school, we had no computers because the computer was not quite, the PC that is so ubiquitous now, and all the mobile devices were not even invented yet. I mean, they were supercomputers that was used only in very selected places, and so that is, I would say, the biggest difference. So you now have many more interesting ways to learn and to share ideas, and Crescent is one of our future schools. So it's very good to think about how to harness technology in the service of learning. But at the same time, I think some things don't change, and the things that don't change is how we still need lots of face-to-face interaction with our friends, and there are some basic things about basic values like respect for other people and a sense of responsibility. And those values don't change and should not change. Yeah. Well, I think the best way for schools to prepare our students for the future is to plant in every student the seed for lifelong learning and the love for lifelong learning. And this means a number of things. First, it means that you need to have good fundamentals. Everyone has to be able to read and write well, and well enough to be able to access future learning. And at the same time, everyone needs a certain set of core values and beliefs that will serve you well into the future. And of course, you then have to build on this to think about how our students need to be alive to ideas. And this means creating ideas, experimenting with ideas, thinking analytically, and not just not just be satisfied with a superficial understanding of issues, whatever it may be, right? And to be able to then pursue those ideas. So that's one. And second is to be alive to people around you, and that's why, and of course, to yourself too. And that's where self-awareness, social-emotional learning, and interaction with other people matter so much. And finally, I hope that our students are alive to a sense of purpose and values, because at the end of the day, it's not just about meeting some external benchmark. I mean, those are a useful way of knowing how much progress we have made, but ultimately it's your own life, and you want to make it purposeful, you want to make it meaningful. Each of us will have different definitions of that, different ideas of what is meaningful to you, but being able to find that, and I think quite a lot of that, I believe, will be how you can also serve the broader community and not just yourself. Yeah.
So on that note about shifting in perceptions among young people,
yes.
From your conversation with young people regarding education in Singapore, how do you feel that there has been a shift in perception of success among youths today?
Well, I think young people today are more willing to try out different activities, different forms of learning. Just this morning, I heard one of your fellow students who said that she would like to be a chef, right? And I think those are interesting new possibilities that we should encourage and we should provide opportunities for. Yeah.
Well, you talked about providing opportunities. How best do you think schools could try and prepare students to pave the way to enabling them to achieve this kind of aspirations that they may have that's not really the normal structured careers that they would be expected to take?
Well, I think it's very much left to, first and foremost, that motivation must come from the student herself. If the student, you can provide all the opportunities in the world, but if the student does not seize these opportunities which the schools provide, then there's not much that we can achieve. But if the student and her parents believe that there's some meaningful things to do, they would seize those opportunities. And I think if you look at our education system compared to the time I was in school, we certainly have many more pathways, many more different ways of learning. And if you look at beyond school, the kinds of jobs that our students can aspire to, it is far, it's far wider. There's a far wider range, a far greater variety than there ever was when I was a student. And this comes about only because we have been able to maintain vibrancy in our economy. And therefore, one other way in which we create opportunities for our students is to really develop a vibrant economy. So it's not, some students have this idea about it's all or nothing, or if we want to have, that we should not overemphasize material things and economy and so on. I know what students mean in that life should be more than just work, but on the other hand, work is not necessarily the opposite of life. Right? Having meaningful work is part of a joyous life, because you don't want to spend all your life doing things which you don't totally enjoy. And you see that in our teachers, right? I mean, our teachers enjoy what they do, they enjoy the teaching. It is a way of making a living, certainly, but it goes beyond that. And I think we should encourage our students to think not in either or terms, but in how we can combine all this together. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts about having a curriculum that allows students leeway to choose a vocational path at an earlier age? Like how one of the Crescentians mentioned earlier about how she wanted to become a chef and such.
Right.
So, do you think that there could be, for example, full programs about media studies or journalism or even events management at maybe secondary 3 to help nurture such aspirations in students?
Well, I think we can have more elements of applied to real world learning, but so for instance, you mentioned about whether it's media studies or design and technology and such programs, but at the same time we have to bear in mind that we should be looking at a 10-year of basic education or 10 years of general education. So this 10 years of primary school and secondary school should provide our students with a broad base of learning to build the foundation for learning. From there, the students can go on to pursue their interests. So I think it's good for students to have to develop interest in particular areas and to think about what they would like to do later. But it is not necessary to specialize too early. They should be open to other forms of learning and to broadening their experience. And then in that way, I think they will be able to access their future learning even better. Yeah.
Okay. Well, our final question for today would be, what advice do you have for our Crescentians?
Yeah. Well, enjoy your study and enjoy your friendship, because I think if you enjoy your study, the results will come. But if you worry too much just about results, you'll find the learning to be a chore. And at the same time, this is a period of your life as teenagers where you can really make good friends. As part of the growing up, having friends around you will help you to manage the ups and downs of life, manage the growth that you are undergoing, and those are going to be your friends for life, and so have fun together.
Thank you very much.